Human existence carries a heavy baseline of instability. Between sudden disasters and the constant hum of anxiety, we navigate with a deep-seated feeling of isolation. We try to counter that instability by building worldly safety nets, but as we see in this excerpt from the Ram Amritwani, those anchors eventually fail. Stanza 19 states that wealth, parents, spouses, and friends cannot provide support at the very end of life. When those human-made structures collapse, they leave behind a profound void. The realization that our strongest worldly attachments cannot protect us from the ultimate realities of existence triggers a sharp, undeniable panic. Because these conventional solutions are inherently temporary, the human condition requires something else entirely, a permanent anchor that remains intact when everything else dissolves. The text proposes a highly specific remedy to that chaos. It prescribes the persistent, devoted repetition of a single two-syllable word, Ram. This absolute simplicity sits in strict contrast to traditional spiritual mechanics. Look at stanza 30 here. It directly lists the demanding practices usually required for salvation, like rigorous yogic asceticism, profound meditation, and complex ritual sacrifices, which raises an immediate question. How can the mere physical act of repeating a sound substitute for decades of intense physical and philosophical discipline? The text treats this repetition as a highly active, multi-tiered spiritual technology with immediate, measurable effects. The first and most intimate layer of this technology works purely on the mind. It acts as a psychological anchor to regulate internal turbulence. You can see the mechanism described in stanza 12. The text identifies the chant as a direct cooling agent. The phrase "man tapt bujave" translates to extinguishing mental heat, neutralizing the intense emotional distress of daily life. The persistent repetition targets panic at point root. It breaks the looping thoughts of uncertainty and replaces them with a singular, steady frequency. Before operating on a cosmic scale, the mantra's primary function is stabilizing the user's immediate psychological reality. Once that internal stability is achieved, the impact expands outward. Through continuous repetition, that internal sound transforms into a perceived external companion. This brings us to stanza 21. The text outlines scenarios of profound terror, specifically describing a terrible calamity in a dark, lonely forest. In these moments, the repeated name is said to materialize as a guiding light and a protective shield. This constant presence directly solves the deep-seated isolation we face when worldly safety nets vanish. What begins as a mental exercise matures into an active relationship, ensuring the individual is never completely alone against the pressures of the world. The text scales up to esoteric mechanics. Stanza 37 introduces the bij akshar, a seed syllable containing concentrated power. Moving to stanza 38, this seed's vibration acts as a physical trigger, awakening dormant spiritual energy within the body, specifically the kundalini. The mechanical result of this awakening is dramatic. According to stanza 63, this energy violently consumes the bondage of a person's past actions, stating it burns karmic bonds the exact same way fire burns through wood. The Amritwani is completely explicit here. Repeating the name is an active, mechanical engine driving karmic liberation. We finally reach the text's ultimate philosophical claim. This continuous repetition aligns the individual directly with the source code of reality itself. Stanza 52 frames this using the cosmos as a vast tree. It states unequivocally that the name Ram acts as the absolute, life-giving root of that entire universal structure. To chant the name is to bypass the chaotic, tangled branches of human existence and plug a direct line right into the foundation of the cosmos. The consequence of this entire philosophical system is radical accessibility to salvation. Look closely at who the text invites to this practice. Stanza 78 points out that this cosmic truth is explicitly available to the poorest and most broken individuals, creating welfare for the completely destitute. There are no gated communities here. The practice requires zero wealth, zero physical ability, and absolutely no advanced education to operate successfully. The Ram Amritwani outlines a system of total democratization for spiritual liberation. It demands nothing more than a person's willingness to turn inward and persistently repeat a single name.